Good afternoon. My name is Carmen Juliá and I'm curator at Spike Island. It is my pleasure to welcome you to a new edition of Behind the Scenes, a series dedicated to studio visits with artists and makers based at Spike Island. Today I'm in conversation with fabricators Plenderleith and Scantlebury, but before I introduce their practice, I would like to mention a couple of things in regards to the event. So the conversation will last about 45 minutes and it's being recorded. So please make sure that your microphones are turned off during the talk. We will be taking questions at the end and you can use the chat window to post your questions. A reminder that our public programs seek to create an environment for critical and open-minded discussion. And please see the link to our code of conduct in the chat, which I'm going to post now. So in an article in 2018, the New York Times asked, are fabricators the most important people in the art world? The sculpture and installations have grown to immense proportions in recent years. And as a result, one could argue that artists have become less present in the making of their own work. And it's become increasingly hard to ignore who is behind the curtain, the off-site fabricators who actually make the thing itself. So today we're meeting Mark Plenderleith and Lisa Scantlebury, who are specialist fabricators and have been working together since the late 1990s. They're experts in mold making and casting with over 40 years of combined experience. From their studio at Spike Island, where they have been based for over 2 decades, they work on projects with artists, arts organizations, museums, photographers, advertising agencies, and creative companies from across the world. So they were also instrumental in producing a number of new works for Veronica Ryan's exhibition Along a Spectrum, which is currently on view at Spike Island until September the 5th. So please check our website for more details. Hello. How are you? Welcome to Behind the Scenes.
Yeah, thanks.
It's so good to have you here, and it's so unusual because we usually hear from artists, but obviously, you know, this is going to be a very different point of view.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah. So I know you've prepared a presentation, but perhaps we can start with just one question. If just to start from the very beginning, like, could you tell us a little bit about how you decided to become a fabricators and how you started working together and set up Plenderleith and Scantlebury?
Yeah, sure. Well, I'm an artist and I've always been a maker of sorts. I'm interested in materials first. Then as that's progressed, I've used that experience to make objects. I have a degree in ceramics and love the different processes involved in that. Slips, molds, glaze technology. The precision of it all is something I love, as well as having an understanding of what materials work together and what don't. So it's very technical and precise, and I've really enjoyed that. So it's the backbone in ceramic processes that's informed my contemporary sculpture making. Mm-hmm. It's led me to approach art making through alternative channels from a more problem-solving angle, basically to create my own rules because it works better that way. This approach has then fed into what Mark and I do as specialist art fabricators at Plenderleith Scantlebury. Mark's background is in advertising and model making. There were no courses when he started. He invested in his own path as well. So we've both had an interesting entry into sculpture and art from our different routes. So that's what makes us so special.
And you've been doing this for what? How long? Like, just I said over 20 years, but it's probably a lot more than that, right?
Yeah, I mean, I started working on a lot of the silk cut and advertising like 35 years ago.
Okay, yeah.
So then my background's all of the kind of big posters, advertising, and then I went into animation, and that's where Lisa and I met, was on a Chicken on 1999.
Yeah. Yeah, Mark was leading the
I was
Pie
machine, lead engineer on the pie machine, and we put a team together. I was commuting from London,
right,
staying up during the week. Lisa had a studio here at Spike, and she asked, because I was just here, there was two of us commuting, and Lisa had some work project she was working on, and said, can you give me a hand in the evening, because we had nothing to do. So that's how we kind of started working together. And I think people within Spike started to see we were working together, and they asked for help on theirs, and it kind of grew. So it's been quite a kind of organic process, really. And then, you know, more and more people started to hear what we were doing and asking us. And so once the film finished, it just grew, really.
And so now we're mainly working with artists and creatives. Across the years, we've worked with artists at all levels, students, emerging artists, established artists, as well as galleries, curators and private clients, both nationally and internationally, like I said. So we really enjoy the challenging projects, you know, that required attention to detail, and so it's been very varied.
So, and you've always been based at Spike Island, right?
Since I've been in Bristol, I haven't. We've always been based at Spike. So,
and do you think like being based in an artist community like this at the beginning help you with you know, establishing yourselves working with artists? I mean, there was Mark, you were saying like how artists started asking for advice, and
I think it's grown because of us being here in Spike. I think that, you know, people see you, you know, they're walking past. We've always tried to be quite open. People have, you know, asked either just advice or it's just come in to see what we're doing. So it's kind of grown, because I think a lot of people don't even know what fabricators do, you know, or you know,
absolutely, yeah. It's like it's kept really behind the scenes, right? It's like it's something that doesn't get the spotlight very often.
And I think that sometimes, you know, artists don't want us to be seen, and other times, you know, they want to keep themselves, you know, kind of away from it as well. And, you know, most artists I think that we work with don't have a problem that, you know, somebody else is making the work. I think one of the questions we always get is, you know, whose work is it, or, you know, how much involvement, and you know, that while we're working on it, we see it as, you know, that it's never our work. I don't think, you know, we wouldn't be making what we're making if someone hadn't asked us to make it. You know, Lisa makes her own work.
All right. Yeah.
So, you know, she makes that from that. I don't make any of my own work. So I have a different kind of process where I go through the motions of making things, but because I always never start making anything until I know what it's going to look like at the end, I kind of don't bother making it because I already know what it's going to look like.
Okay, yeah. So that's a really good question about authorship, you know, and I guess one of the things that I'm interested in is, well, like to know at which point an artist hands their work over to you, you know, and do they come to you with detailed set of instructions or a phone conversation describing the work?
I think everyone's different, really.
Sometimes people have clear ideas about what they want, and sometimes they don't. But we feel like now we've got it covered. Because initially we invite artists to complete our estimate questionnaire that we have on our website, so that helps. You know, you can find out the basics of a project, dates, sizes, materials. We ask them to complete it with as much information as they can, attach images. And if an artist is unsure or unclear about anything, then we offer an hour-long consultation that they can put through our website. So, you know, we can help work out a strategy for moving forward. So at that point, the artist has then a choice of what route they'd like to take, you know, because we've given them lots of advice. The information's been kind of exchanged. So, yeah, we never interpret what artists want to make. we have protocols in place to make sure that we understand exactly what it is they want us to make or help them with. So
yeah, I think it's, I think how we're different to a lot of, there are a lot of good makers, and I think how we're different in working with artists is that we try to understand exactly what they want, and we want to make what they want, not our interpretation of that. So that is, and through that, the ownership is why the ownership is always there. It's always, the ideas there's, I think we can advise on materials.
Yeah, exactly.
Process. I think people end up using fabricators, one, because of size, or, somewhere to do it, or it's messy, or, all of those things, or, structurally. So, I think that's how we can help, and we can advise on different materials. So but it's never our work.
And we're also aiming to appeal to creatives through every aspect of our business. We recognise that trends change and processes change, and so it's important for us to stay flexible as a business to meet the needs of artists and what they want making. For example, we have seen an increase in artists using biomaterials in recent years, and this is something we can help with and advise on. It's important for us to be in tune with what artists want.
Yeah, I was just wondering about that. And also, do you have to keep up with like techniques and, specialize in different things over the years as things come in or out of trend?
We specialise in high quality, complicated mould making and casting, and we get asked to work on projects that other fabricators can't make as well. So that's what we love.
So what kind of projects are the fabricators couldn't make, for example, on the things that that is kind of your expertise?
Well, we were once approached by a well-known artist with a very complicated mould and casting job. It came to us after London model makers said it couldn't be done. We took a look at it, found a way, and it was a real success. But unfortunately, we can't talk about it.
I guess that's another thing. Can you show projects? Can you talk about them? How much?
Some people, some artists we can't ever tell about it. So more often than not, those are the bigger, better jobs. But obviously, certain things we're not allowed to talk about.
But well, I mean, nonetheless, you have prepared a presentation with your work here. So perhaps it'd be good to maybe run it through. Yeah.
Just share the screen. I know this works. Right. Here we go. Yeah, so just going to run through some of the projects that we've made in the past and some of the techniques that we've made. We're going to start with talking about working with Wood and Harrison. And this is quite a nice journey of all the different types of techniques and different processes we've used just with one set of artists, and how varied that is really as fabricators. It's not, we're not just making the same thing every time for them. It's like we're working with their ideas. So they just come up with the idea and say, can you make this? And we more often than not say yes.
So just for those who are not aware, so Wood and Harrison also have a studio at Spike Island. So I guess that's a connection there with artists in the studios. And you have collaborated with them in numerous occasions, right?
That's right, yeah. For gallery projects and their video works as well. And we use a lot of electronics as well and pyrotechnics as well, which we'll show you. So this was a set of 6 scenes that we made for John and Paul. This is a scale model of a tennis court, so it's very fine detail, making everything that's here, the net, the tennis court itself, the fencing, so it's all to scale, and it's a great project to work on. It drew on our skills as model makers from way back.
Yeah.
And so this is another model that we made. They on our video on our website, John and Paul kindly did. They talked about this and said that they couldn't find an actual pier that they could burn. So they asked us to make a scale model of Brighton Pier, isn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And they wanted to burn it. So we had a specific set of criteria that it only could burn up to halfway, and it had to last for about 7 minutes. So obviously it took us 5 weeks to make the model and the set, and we only had one chance at doing it. So luckily, somehow, well, I think we did test, didn't we?
Yeah.
It burnt for 7 minutes, and
it went out.
It went out. Yeah, it just tickled around the next building along, and then it just fizzled out. So that was great relief.
Wow, that's amazing. What is it? What is the size of it? Like, I can't.
It's about just over 1.5 meters long.
Okay.
Yeah.
They said they were going to use as the background music as Lisa and I crying.
Did you cry when you saw it burning?
We were really lucky because we found some architects in Brighton who had drawn up this scale model.
Right.
And interestingly, it took them 5 weeks to do that, and it took us the same time to make it. So that was quite an interesting little.
Oh, wow. I mean, 5 weeks to make that. That's is that quite fast building?
Yeah, well, we got all the intricate work of the wire, like the steel work, that was all, etched in brass. So it was all done by etching process. So you could get really fine detail. So it's all etched and really neat. So we just gave them big drawings to scale down from. It's intricate, but really fun as well. And we found out about most plastics burn, but half of it was made out of flame retardant plastic. So we had to think about all those things when we were making it. It's quite intricate. Obviously that's real water in there. So
where was it? Where was it set on fire? And where was it?
Yeah.
In your studio.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they set up all the cameras and everything.
And they set out all the cameras in your studio. And what happened there?
We've got a fan in here so that the smoke would,
right.
Otherwise it would just be full of smoke. So, that was the main reason why it was
Amazing. I wonder if with the current restrictions that we have in the building, you'd be able to set something on fire.
Maybe. We don't do it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, it looks absolutely incredible, really.
It was great. And it's great that they showed it in the gallery afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. So the model still exists as a work, right? Yeah.
So that's nice. Sorry, I've frozen for some reason. Oh, here we go. Okay, sorry. So this is another project for them. It's called 100 Falls, and we were asked to make a dummy mannequin of Paul. So they could Paul would walk up the ladder, and then they'd throw the dummy off the top, and then Paul would get back into that same position as the mannequin, and then Paul would then get up. So it was just like this recurring process. So Paul said, I'll just put any old head on a mannequin's body, put the clothes on. And we just said to Paul, well, we can actually cast your face and your hands to make it really like, realistic to him. So that's what we did, wasn't it? It's just, he went ahead with it, and we took a mold of his face. Yeah. And it just made just that extra, to look like him. So it worked really well. And we just had to make sure his legs and arms didn't go really.
Yeah, because he had to get in the position that it fell
in. So they couldn't like contort too much, right? Yeah.
So, yeah, that worked really well. And we used a flexible polyurethane resin for his face so it wouldn't break, when it hit the floor. So it was all kind of flexible.
Yeah, I mean, the detail is amazing, really. Again,
Yeah,
I mean, the detail always surprises me with all the cuts that you do.
Yeah, so that's really fun. He's got it. Someone bought it, didn't they? So he gave it to someone. But yeah, it's fun that it's around. And we then they wanted us to make. Well, they couldn't find a sheep toy that the sheep's head were facing forwards. They were always looking to the side.
All right.
Weirdly. And they do. All sheep look to the side. So we resculpted the sheep's head to look forward, and then we cast 102 of these sheep in a UV stable white polyurethane. And it's called Sheep Entertainment. So they're all staring at the two sheep with one on their on the back. So so that was an interesting. That was
how big are they again? Like size, small. Yeah,
small.
Mm-hmm.
Nice to do tiny things. And this again, a project where we cast all of these cars individually because they wanted them to explode with all the car doors, the bonnets and the boots flying off. So obviously these cars are cast in metal, so they wouldn't explode. So we had to cast all of these cars. Right. Yeah, we cast all of the doors separately. We fact formed all the windows, and we had to make all the wheels. All of it was cast, and then we painted them. We even stuck on little
number plates.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
How many cars were there? Do you remember?
It was 100.
Yeah, I think it's just 100.
And all the colours were based on how many actual cars were on the road at that time. So it's based on 100 cars on the road. There was like one yellow car, sort of 20 blue ones. So it was based on actual real life figures of stats. And then of course, then we had to blow them up. So it was all kind of technical with all the wires. And we worked with a firework company who came in. And again, this is all safely done in
Word.
That was in there. They can get the blame for that. That was in their studio.
Right. Wow.
So that was complicated because it was just lots of different colours, different kind of cars. So Mark, you did all that, didn't you?
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, I like that.
But how long did it take you to do something like this?
Probably about the same time.
Like 5 weeks.
Yeah, 5 or 6 weeks, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, we built all the set.
So what are they cast? What do you use to cast them? To cast the cars?
Polyurethane.
Polyurethane. Okay.
We made the molds. So we had about 5 different molds.
Oh right. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of lots of bits, but it was just really fun. So. And again, you hope that everything's good. And they all had to blow up in sequence because they were filming. They had to set the camera up.
Yeah.
So there was lots going on there.
So when they blow up, obviously the doors come off and they kind of explode, right?
Yeah. So the footage was you could see the bonnets flying around, and so it was nice. It was good.
It's quite engineering, this one, right? Like, I mean, there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, because we had to drill up through underneath the set as well, little holes underneath each car to feed in the little explode. Well,
okay, yeah.
I mean, I'd say little. I don't know. Explosive. As I said it.
And did you have to do many tests to get the explosion right?
Yeah, we went to the firework factory. They did, it was really interesting because I'd be filming it and then they would say, "Oh, that's a bit too much," explode, because it was just like one of them was really loud.
Blew it apart.
Bang, really.
Oh wow!
Blew the car to smithereens. So so there are lots of tests just to get it right, really.
And what was the reaction when you came, with this project to like the firework company, and how did they react? It's like, oh,
I just took it in stride, didn't they? Really?
Yeah.
They were really, really great to work with, and they understood that what we were doing. And after we explained that it had to be a bit delicate, they were really, really patient. They came in with they had the whole rig out box of, wiring each one up. So it's really clever. It's really, and they were really meticulous, and so it's good. Yeah, they were great, weren't they? So, I've frozen again. Oh yeah, and this again for them. This is they did a series of paintings, tilt paintings, and they asked us to, which we've done a few times now, to pour epoxy resin over the top of their paintings to seal them. So this is in their studio. They set all the paintings up. We set them all up level, and then mixed up clear epoxy resin, and then just poured it over the top of all the paint. So we only have one hit at doing that, really. So
all right. So what is epoxy resin?
It's just I think it's quite popular with painters at the moment. It's sort of like a self-leveling clear resin. You pour on top of the painting, and it self-levels, and it creates a really, it's like glass.
Yeah, I mean.
Oh, right. Okay.
So it goes really super smooth, and it really brings out the colours of the paint underneath. But not in this case, really. But it's just created a really nice. It's almost frames itself, I suppose. So there was a room full of these, and we just poured the resin on, and then just warmed it up, and then it just self-levels. So, and hopefully you have to keep it really clean in there as well. So we created a room to do that, so we don't want any dust sort of falling on it. So that's the main thing about this, isn't it? Just watching out for any specks of dust, so it has to be super clean. So
because any dust would just ruin it, right? Would you have to repeat the whole thing again? Yeah, probably.
I think they're all right, weren't they?
Yeah.
So it's a bit pressured, but we did it. So this is what Hannah Mooney. We worked with her. She came into our studio and just wanted to play around with some materials, because she wanted to make, for the one on the left, the milk. We actually made that in a white silicone. So she took it to Ireland. She created the white silicone milk spill, and then inside the milk carton is actually white silicone. So that's all solid. It appears like milk.
Okay. Yeah, it looks so much like milk.
Yeah.
But it looks like a liquid, it doesn't look like a solid. So in this instance, for example, did you came up with a suggestion on materials that she could use, or she had an idea that she wanted to use?
We came up with the idea because she knew what she wanted. So we just had a chat about it. This was before we did our consultation, I think. So she came and had a chat about it, and we came up. And she actually came in and worked with the material to get. She put the milk in the position that she wanted it.
Oh, right. Okay.
So that was really nice. We've done that. We do. It's nice to do that to him, because it's quite a specific thing, isn't it? When you sometimes you want to just create, if you can, your own pattern. So she did that, and it was really successful. It was shown in Ireland, and it got there okay. So quite nice. And the arm, we made a body cast of the arm and the hand, and then we dipped the hand in pink silicone as well. So that's silicone on the end.
Okay, yeah.
So it always looks wet. So that was a nice use of materials.
It's an amazing texture, isn't it? It's like
the arm.
The arm, the silicone in the arm. I mean, it does look like painting or something. Yeah.
So we tinted the resin when we cast it in a flesh colour. So that takes quite a while to get that colour. And you only get one hit at mixing it as well. So everything's kind of a bit under pressure, I suppose. But
it looks like you always like you only have one chance with everything.
It is a bit like that.
But so far it seems like you're quite lucky with that one chance. You know the materials very well.
A touch MDF. So this is Isabel Canero. She had a show in Spike, but she came to see us while she was here, and she wanted to make these metre by metre relief paintings of sort of casts.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about that? So she picked up.
Yeah, I think she came in and just picked up things from around the building, pieces of wood and foam, tubes, and assembled them on a metre square background, and then got us to make a mould of it. And these are cast in onyx.
Yeah.
So she wanted us to spray inside the mould the colour, and then lay the onyx on top of that, so it sucked the spray paint into the onyx.
What is an onyx?
Onyx.
It's a kind of it's like a form of marble, but it's more translucent.
Oh, okay.
Like the mineral.
All right. Yeah.
It's slightly translucent, so it's just a little more translucent than marble.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a lovely material. So we mix a high quantity of that in a clear resin. So if you held it up to the light, you'd almost see through it.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Glow to it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we made about 5 of these, didn't we?
Yeah, 5 different colours. I think 3 went to New York and 2 went to Italy.
Yeah, that was nice to do. It was really kind of because she was just picking up bits of old MDF that we had lying around, and we were like, "Oh no, don't choose that because we've got a really hard angle on it." But we were like, "Yeah, okay, that's fine." But yeah, so bits of sponge, so lots of materials that we had to make moldable as well. We'll talk about that in a second. Oh,
oh, Daphne. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, working with Daphne, we did lots of animal casts for her. Working with feathers, a fox. We did the fur, moles, trout. No, pike. Sorry, we got molded pikes.
A rabbit, pig.
Yeah. So lots of different animals we've cast in marble, which is the same as the onyx. It's like a ground up real stone marble with resin.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So treating the actual bird to make it castable is one of the most important parts of this job, which is really pretty much unseen, but it's really important to treat.
So what do you do? What kind of treatment do you apply to it then?
Yeah, we just have to make it sort of less porous. That's the main thing, because when you pour silicone rubber onto anything like foam or fur or fabric, it just absorbs the rubber and you never get to pull it off. So you have to create a barrier, really. So that's what we did on the swan. So that's a great sculpt, and the plinth is made of, we cast that in marble as well, so it's all marble, cast marble. So it's
it looks amazing.
Yeah, it's beautiful to work on.
Yeah, I think what she is keeping sealing them off and keeping the detail is the hard part.
I might have to whiz through these. You haven't got much time. So yeah, this is same marble, but we talked about this earlier, didn't we? We were talking about that. This was in Ireland. It's permanently placed in a courthouse, but we moulded the actual tree that was outside the courthouse in Ireland. So that was what's really interesting about this project, was that we were out in the square making the mould of this big tree, and then we brought the moulds back to Spike Island and cast it in the marble, and then it all was then shipped over to.
Yeah, and the court was up and running, and it was being used, so we had to erect it without any noise. So that was the challenge, was to put it all back. We took it in 1 metre high sections, and then built it in there 1 metre at a time. So put in the armature, bolted it up as we went.
Yeah, so that was this is Stephen Claydon with project for Cosham Hospital. That we took a mould of the actual bronze plaque in the hospital, and even though this looks like bronze in this photograph, it's actually carbon fibre and epoxy resin. So when the whole project is about coal, and the aluminium was that's real aluminium.
Yeah.
And then the two plugs are, one's sort of core concrete and coal, like to suggest the foundations that the hospital was built on, and the top one was rubber and lead, so it was like the nurses kind of x-ray apron. So there's lots of use of different materials in that, so that was really interesting. And this was in the Forest of Dean sculpture trail. We worked with Veronica Ryan and made this real life cast of we took a mould off the actual quarry face there.
All right.
And cast it in aluminium and resin.
Oh wow.
So it's like
it looks like a stone
beamed down from space.
Yeah. I think the interesting thing about this project was that she wanted a mould taken of the quarry face that's behind that, which is on the front here, and then we took a mould of the mould, because the back is the negative, so everything that comes out at the front goes in at the back. So it's a complete, thing set back by 2 feet.
All right. So how do you work? I mean, how did you take the mold? Like,
we were up at the.
So you were up at the other end of it.
The back, all the muds and the rocks. That's actually what we moulded, was the bit of quarry at the top there behind it.
Okay, over there, yeah. And is it just you two doing these things, or you never get you don't get assistants or anything like that?
Well, we're hoping to
go there with your silicone and stuff.
We're working on doing that.
Okay, because I guess, I mean, for this kind of project, it seems it's quite big, isn't it? And and actually being there in situ, and I guess, if it rains or do you take those things? Yeah, okay.
We did have a scaffold which we put tarpaulin over and everything. We had buckets hanging, catching all the drips.
Oh my god!
But the mold making's is quite quick if you know what kind of know what you're doing. I mean, we did that in 9 days. So
the whole thing, the piece, like, the final work.
Yeah.
Oh wow!
So 9 days to take the mould off the back and split it all and bring it back here. So it's quite a quick turnaround mould, taking the moulds.
I'll just quickly talk about D-Face, who's a 2D painter, does large scale wall murals. This is the first time he worked in 3D. He came to us with a 2D painting of this, and he asked us to sculpt it as if it was 3D. So that's what we did, and we sculpted it and made molds, and then that's actually cast in real bronze. So it took it to a foundry, and they cast this up, and then we just polished it up. So it's a lovely effect, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky mold, that one, because it's all coming back on itself, obviously. So that was the hard bit of that.
Yeah, really. So that was nice to do. Oh, and we install work as well. This is at Whitechapel Gallery in London, where we had to. Well, there was a very beautiful floor, and we had it in a swamp. So that's actually black silicone. So we painted that on to create this swamp on there. It was pretty pristine, wasn't it? Well, it still is. It still is pristine. And this is a lovely project. First thing we made, wasn't it, with Mahali?
Yeah, actually, it's one of the first things we did when we were here working. Mahali upstairs got us to make these little. I mean, you can't really tell what size the deck chairs are, but they're only kind of about 100 mil high. So
teeny deck chairs. So we just wanted to. One of our first jobs, really. And we just want. Have we got time to just go over just the process of us working with an artist? Have we got time? Or
yeah. We have 5 minutes. We have a couple of questions in the chat. So
okay. I'll just be quick, just to flick through. Do you want to talk about that?
This is for Marila Neudecker. She came to us. So I think the process of us working with an artist is, I think Marila came to us with this maquette she'd made, and she said she wanted this full-size figure making. And as the conversation went on, it turned out that she didn't really want us to sculpt something. She wanted sort of quite a realistic figure. So through the conversation, which I think is, you know, what most of our work is about and process, is that as it turned out, she wanted real clothes. And then she was very specific, like this coat that I'm wearing in the photograph, we had to get from America. So it was, we kind of taken the whole thing, end up buying stuff to put these things together. We sculpted the face. She gave us sort of ideas of people she liked. And then we cast my hand. And so she kept coming in to view it. And then when she was happy, we obviously molded it up.
So this is an example of sealing the clothing before we put the silicone rubber on.
So we segment the whole thing up and try and keep it in as few parts as possible. And then because of the process of this being cast in such a big chunks, we sometimes use toweling in the rubber. So we put the silicone on, and then a lot of the time you make keys for the rubber to fit into the jacket, but we use quite a lot of the time, we use toweling. So we put the toweling on while the rubber's wet. So that sticks to the silicone. And then when we put the jacket on in the fiberglass, it sticks to the other side of the toweling. So when you pull it off, the whole thing stays together. I mean, it's brilliant because it means you can rotate the molds, nothing ever moves. But obviously there are times where you want the jacket to come off. So you obviously you can't do that a lot of the time. But for this, it was perfect because we were casting. This is aluminium, again, powder in resin.
All right.
Because we we could really pull it off, keep the thing as joint-free as possible, really. And we did a whole series.
Oh, wow.
Of a man sitting on a rock, and I think we did 3 or 4 figures. And this was playing around with the hand position.
We cast Mark's hands.
Yeah, so we just, Marila came in and we went through all the positions of the hands, and yeah, this is some of the 3 of them in the studio.
Oh, this is another example of going from 2D to 3D. So we were asked again by D-Face to create this 3-dimensional version of his painting. So we sculpted that in plasticine, and then it was really important to him to get that kind of clinging around his neck, and it was to make it look like she was sucking the life out of this guy's face. Those are the important things about that. So this is the mold we made, this is not a toweling kind of mold. This is when you've got keys so the rubber can come out of the mold, and that's the finished sculpture, which is bronze resin. So
right, and
that's polishable like the aluminium. And this is
Veronica.
Veronica, yeah. So we've got lots of molds and things here that we can show you, but yeah, again, these were cushions. So the same process of having to make the cushions hard, so that they wouldn't absorb the mold silicone. And then we made these molds of the cushions. So the important thing here was that there was no pore hole. So we've made the mold so there wouldn't be any kind of visual sense of there being a hole or seam. So we made them look like they were seamless from the process. So they just look like cushions. And
they do, yeah. They absolutely do look like cushions. We have had so many people coming to the exhibition and thinking that they were actual cushions.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're really great, fun to make, and these were ceramic process that we used for the cocoa pods for Veronica. So we slip cast those. We made plaster molds, which we've got here, and so again, we just had to make them look like they were just cocoa pods with no pore holes. So we made a cap to then fit back onto the cocoa pods after they'd been made. So we got rid of the entry seam.
Right.
And we made these. We sort of invented these stands for them to be fired on. So yeah, so you can glaze them all the way around. So that was really great. Oh, did we do good on time? I think.
Well, you're bang on. I mean, that's we're just a minute over, but I think there's a few questions, so I'm just going to read them out.
Sure.
Okay, because we can, maybe we have another 5 minutes. So a question from Olivia Jones, who said, you work with such a wide range of materials. Are there any materials, processes that you haven't worked with yet that you would like to try in the future?
Well, that's a good question. Well, I don't know. Like we've worked with like laser cutting, and we've done that kind of work, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, I think it would, like we were saying earlier about more environmentally friendly materials. A lot more people are getting into that, so we're looking at kind of flax and hemp and other kind of materials like that. And we've touched on, we're using more and more carbon fibre, obviously, for things, because people don't realise how strong carbon fibre is. I think even engineers still use steel. And we had a meeting, we're doing a public art project, we're just starting, and the engineers on that were talking to us, and we suggested carbon fibre, and even they didn't really know that carbon fibre is 5 times stronger than steel.
Oh, wow.
So, I think especially in structures, it's light, so it's really versatile. For our kind of work, it's brilliant. You can lay it up like you do fiberglass, but once it's put together, it's enormously strong.
So we're really excited about it at the moment, just in terms of public art sculpture, that we can recreate a bronze look that's strong, is really strong and can be quite thin as well. So that's kind of something that we're developing at the moment for artists to use as a kind of alternative to real bronze casting or aluminium or any other kind of, it doesn't have to be metals, it can be anything that you can just make look like a different material, and it's really strong.
Oh, right. Yeah. And how do artists respond to that kind of, what you just say about making a material look like another material? Sometimes I guess they just want to work with a specific material, or because there's something about, that working with that material. Yeah,
that can be achieved, but for things like public art projects where it needs to be permanent, it's something that we can offer that's going to last for 5-10 years, even for longer. But it's just being able to offer an alternative that's gonna fit their criteria of what they want it for. So it's good to have a kind of backup, really.
Yeah, and I think also because of weight, if you can make something that's hollow, that's not bronze or aluminium, that's a lot lighter and looks like it. And there's also obviously for people stealing things, like Marila's man, we had to go to Jersey because had to go to Jersey because somebody tried to steal one, thought it was real aluminium, and they broke it.
They were disappointed.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
And also you don't, you can, with the way you do that, you can regulate the patina, because aluminium obviously outside just goes white. So, so aluminium with resin obviously stays gleaming, shiny. So, there's the upside of that as well.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And Jane Farron is asking the opposite to Olivia's. Are there any materials you won't ever work with, and why? And do environmental concerns come into your decision-making processes?
Yeah,
yes, definitely.
I mean, we're working with a kind of green resin at the moment, bio resin. So if that's available, then and they haven't. I mean, we've been looking at these for a number of years since they've. But when they first came out, bio resins, they're a very dark brown kind of look. But most artists now want things to be a bit more brighter or clearer, or so. Yeah, they're getting better, and we've got our eye on what's available and what's going on. So yeah, you could definitely see an improvement over the years of biomaterials, and moved on from being. And marine friendly as well. So we know resins you can use that are friendly with by the sea or in a fish tank, you know. So it's kind of just being aware of what materials match and are friendly with animals, like fish.
Yeah.
So it's just being aware of that, really. And flame retardancy, kids friendly. So there's lots of things to be aware of when you're choosing, selecting materials.
Great. Well, I think there are a few other questions, but they seem to be quite specific. So what I'll do is I'll pass them on to you, maybe, and you can just get in touch, because we unfortunately have to finish here. But thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation and for showing us all the things that you do in the studio, and it's really most fascinating to see. And yeah, just to say thank you everyone for being here, and thank you to my colleagues Olivia Jones and Rosa Tyhers, and to Freelance Foundation and the Freelance Award for their support of Veronica Ryan's exhibition. And please take a look at our website for more upcoming online events, including a conversation with artist Walter Jackson next Tuesday. And we look forward to seeing you again. Thank you, Lisa and Mark.
Thanks, Carmen.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.